Hey everybody and good morning. It looks like we're going to get a little bit of glare off of the glasses when we're reading, but I literally just woke up, made tea, and got back into bed because I started reading. Oh shit, I forgot to send out the Skype warning. Nobody's here. Oh, somebody's here. Okay, well people will come on. I forgot to send out a Skype warning this morning. My apologies. Again, it's early. Hi, love, light, and peace forever. How are you? Good morning. I thought we'd sit in bed and read a little bit of one of my new books for a little bit. And, hi, Pepper Jackie. How are you? Good morning. Now, usually I send out a Skype notification to all my friends because YouTube notifications have been hairy lately with everybody's channels. So if anybody wants to connect with me on Skype and receive a double notification, just find me at Jen the Taxidermy Witch. So yeah, I'm starting reading this book. So far, I've only gotten little bits and pieces out of this, saint. And so I wanted to, chapter 1 just really started resonating with me, so I wanted to read it. Hey, Magical Mandy, how are you? I love you too so much. I can't wait to embrace you. Hey, Mandy, I'm gonna be in Texas, like, minus the driving for, like, 2 weeks. Do you have any time in the next, like, not this next coming week, but 2 weeks after that to possibly us both drive for 2 hours and meet in the middle or something? Because I would love to hug you. That would be the best thing on earth, and, like, spend the day with you. Just a thought. Um, or maybe I can talk Alex into taking a day drive into Louisiana. How far are you from... You'll make time? Okay, cool. What, how far are you from, like, Louisiana? Like, Cafe du Monde. How far are you from Cafe du Monde? Maybe we could meet there. But anyway, let's talk about that and possibly make some time to meet up because that would be so precious to me. And I don't know if Linnea is already going to be... When is she moving? Hey, Thomas, how are you? Hey, Purple Sky, how are you? So, we're reading chapter 1 out of this book. I literally just woke up, washed my face, and got back into bed. Hey, Raven Sandmoon, how are you? So, I'm going to start reading from chapter 1. Mandy, let's try and set up something. Because you said you'll make time, and so will I. Like, I'll be able to... It's only a couple hours away. Okay, we'll look at a map together. Let's try and Skype. I'll ask Alex today if we can go to Louisiana on the trip. I think I can talk him into it. Okay, so I'm going to start reading chapter 1. You've not been up too long either. I know, Thomas, because that's because you're on U.S. time, because most of your friends are here in Canada, right? For the longest time, most of my friends were in the UK. So, so I kind of acclimated myself to that timing. Luckily, that was before, like, solid witchcraft, so I was just like, oh, this makes sense. Now I'm up during the moon cycle. I love it. Okay, so I want to start by reading chapter 1. It's not terribly long, but please know that I won't be able to look at comments unless I'm taking a pause to interject some personal thought into this book, which I do quite often. So when we see each other, I have a... Yay! Yeah, if there's anything that we can't send through the mail, now would be the time, right? Also, if you guys have not seen the IT crowd, you're really, really missing it. We're really missing out. I got this cup from one of my British friends, and they sent it over. It says, "Have you tried turning it off and on again?" Which is the first line to the show. And they still have IT crowd on Netflix in the US. So you guys, check out the IT crowd, especially if you love dorky things, or if you're an IT dork, or if you know an IT dork, you'll just love this show. Okay. Yeah, the IT crowd is brilliant, isn't it, Thomas? And I'm drinking some lovely PJ Tips. PG Tips, Kappa, PJ. I'm like in bed, so I'm thinking of PJs and then PG Tips. Okay, so the patron saint of sinners. Okay, that's chapter 1. Do any of you know much about La Santa Muerte? Have any of you heard of La Santa Muerte, or have any of you worked with her? So the fear of death is worse than death, and that was said by Robert Burton, The Anatomy of Melancholy. What does death look like to you? I don't mean your actual physical death with a lowercase d. I mean with a capital D, the spirit of death itself, or rather, herself. You see, to me and millions of people all over North and South America, death is a woman. Not just any woman, she is a skeletal figure who wears a black hooded cloak and carries a scythe. Yes, our image of death is the Grim Reaper, but better yet, the Grim Reapress, a title coined by Dr. Chestnut in his book Devoted to Death. If you're like most people, this frightening embodiment of death is probably something you wouldn't want to dwell upon, much less venerate. And yet in the US alone, there are hundreds of thousands of people who not only dedicate their lives to her magic and philosophy, but also see her as a confronting mother figure. And this number is growing exponentially. But why? When there are so many religions and deity figures in the world, why do countless people choose Dia de los Muertos, Day of the Dead, embodiment of death, as their patron deity and supreme source of both inner peace and personal empowerment? Very rarely is someone a devotee of La Santa Muerte from birth. Most of us come from other faiths which, for one reason or another, were not able to provide us with the answers we were searching for. Many of us come from faiths that outright and unabashedly commend us, saying that due to our professions, past mistakes, sexual identity, orientation, we are not welcome into their good graces. For some of us, desperate for a miracle, turned to La Santa Muerte as a last resort and witnessed her special brand of magic firsthand. I've witnessed that special brand of magic firsthand. Ever after becoming staunch believers, and still others have come due to curiosity about the mysterious school of La Santa Muerte, only to discover that her worldview of spiritual philosophy resonate with their souls. No matter the origins of our relationship with Santa Muerte, we are all devotees because we have communed with her and worked with her magic well enough to know that she is very real and very willing to help us if we call upon her. When I was a child, I would have never guessed that I'd be writing history on La Santa Muerte, let alone the Book of Spells, who efficiently I have experienced personally. With an Irish father and a Mexican mother, I grew up in a good Catholic boy. In fact, I even attended Catholic school all my life until college. I learned about Jesus and the Bible. I received Holy Communion every Sunday. I confessed my sins to a priest, and I believed that to worship anything other than a single masculine God was utter blasphemy. Little did I know at the time that my childhood world of holy mysteries, incense, saints, and ceremony was preparing me quite well for a future steeped in magic. So much resonates there with the Catholic Church and with our magical practice. And if those of you still have Catholic loved ones, and you might go to Mass with them to make them happy, like your mother or something, you look around and you're like, wow, they have frankincense and myrrh and a censer, and they're doing rituals right in front of you. Oh, and they're going over there and they're lighting candles, just like we do, and with a purpose, with a prayer. And it's really, really similar. Hey, Justin, how are you? We are reading out of this. Hey, Jay, how are you? Not as interactive this one, but I wanted to get at least chapter 1 read, and then just have some chit chat. So yes, Catholic Church seems quite magical when you look at it as just a person who's there with a loved one. Like many of Santa Muerte's devotees, I was drawn to her through a sense of not belonging. That's why I was drawn to her too. I was always a sensitive kid who was too feminine to fit in with the boys, too masculine to fit in with the girls, and too smart for my own good. Like anyone, I just wanted to be accepted. I love what he says here. What he's about to say here, I resonate with so hard. Like anyone, I just wanted to be accepted. So from outside of the crowd, I studied human behavior. As a child, he did. Psychology, pop culture, and everything I could do to figure out what everyone else was doing So from outside the crowd, I studied human behavior, psychology, pop culture, and everything I could figure out what everybody else seemed to just inherently know, how to fit in. And the more I learned, the more I realized that it was all an illusion. No one knew what to do to fit in, so everyone just pretended to act like everyone else in the hopes that they'd be accepted, giving up personal interests and self-expression for comfortable conformity. Yeah. And I think that that sentence says a lot about the country that I live in today. Giving up personal interest and self-expression for comfortable conformity. I hate the word conformity. Conform. Obey, consume, reproduce. Y'all gotta watch They Live. This realization changed my life forever. If fitting in meant having to sacrifice who I truly was and continue myself into this box of constantly worrying what do other people think of me, it just wasn't worth it. If I hadn't learned that lesson, I would have never found the fortitude necessary to be an open devotee to La Santa Muerte. Because let's be honest, practicing a form of witchcraft that invokes the aid of the spirit of death will attract a lot of negative attention. Absolutely. It took me a long time to even talk about this with you guys because I didn't want you guys to think that I was some morbid lady who just wanted to die. That's not true at all. And as we read through this, you'll understand why and what it means and everything like that. From the outside, it does look quite morbid. Okay, so where was I? The more I lived on my own life, the more other people began to think highly of me. Ironically, though, the less I cared about what other people thought of me. Sure, I didn't care if human people didn't like me, but having the one true God not liking me was something else entirely. Growing up Catholic, the concept of original sin, wherein humanity's natural state is that of wickedness and sinfulness, just seemed wrong. So did the notion that God is some ever disappointing or disapproving parent who could become eternally angry over the smallest thing. To me, anger is such a petty human emotion for anyone to have, let alone Almighty God. I began to question all that I had just passively accepted to be true about the nature of the divine. I know that Catholicism falls into Christian religions, but it really is a section of itself because from what I've studied, and my whole life I've looked at all kinds of religions, Catholicism is the one where you feel the poorest when you leave. However, they do give you this thing where it's like confession, where you could do it, basically anything, but just come back and confess. But honestly, it's a terrifying religion to some people. And to some people, it's completely comforting, and that's what they know, and that's what they love. But it is very much a religion that doesn't have a bloodline attached to it, but if you're born into Catholicism, your family, a lot of families will look down upon their youth and their offspring if they don't follow along in it, like it was I don't know how to say it, like it was like it was a race or something, yeah? So that's my opinion on Catholicism. I'm allowed to have that, but if you guys have different opinions, I'd love to hear yours as well. Okay, so I began to question all that I had just passively accepted to be true, and that the nature of the divine. I was created with such a damning flaw as original sin, then maybe God isn't actually all-powerful. If I was purposely created with that flaw, then God must not be a living deity. If God is all-powerful and loving, then why was I created to be damned? And if God is somehow neither all-powerful nor loving, then why worship him and call him God at all? These questions are not unique to me. Every devotee in the mystery school of La Santa Muerte has asked the same questions, and there are as many answers as there are devotees. The vast majority of us have been labeled bad by society and by organized religions, so we had to look inward for our answers. My answer, after much soul-searching, resulted in the acceptance of God as an all-powerful and loving deity, though not the only deity, and that it was his self-proclaimed interpreters here on earth who were twisting his words to something ugly. I completely agree with that. Like, that's all I have to say, is I really do agree with that. There's no need to elaborate. It was perfectly said. Okay. Hateful and untrue. If you ask any other devotee of La Santa Muerte... Hi, everybody! Hi, everybody. If you ask any other devotee of La Santa Muerte, they will proudly tell you that they also believe in the all-powerful and loving deity beyond La Santa Muerte. For most, that deity is the masculine, solitary God of Christianity. For others, that deity is an actual pantheon of multiple all-powered and in their own way loving deities. So we know a lot about that in Wicca, witchcraft, etc. And some of us even adhere to a Nubius deity that is ultimately an ineffable and intangible energy beyond human comprehension, such as the Tao. Tao, Tao. To believe in La Santa Muerte and adopt her as a patron saint deity, we do not have to abandon our prior religion. We only have to bring her into our current religion and be willing to learn the eclectic secrets of her mystery school. Eclectic witch, right? But still, the question remains, why choose to dedicate your time, energy, and life to La Santa Muerte and her mystery school when there are so many other deities and philosophies of life to follow? What makes her, the spirit of death, so attractive, especially when death is something so naturally abhorrent to us living beings? Okay, now the next section is called Santa Muerte Philosophy 101. I admit when I first heard of La Santa Muerte through the word of mouth gossip from a close friend who was also on the spiritual path, I was terrified. Dark magic was not something for me. Being a good person, light magic seemed to me more appropriate. I studied the esoterics of more popular faiths and philosophies, including Islam, Judaism, Buddhism, Taoism, and Wicca, while staying far away from anything that smelled of Christianity. It wasn't until I met the ancient alternative Christianity philosopher B. Dave Walters that I discovered the mysticism and magic of ancient Christianity, as it was before it was distorted as an organized institution. He encouraged me to seek out and study the dark side of magic as a natural companion to the light side. This is so important, you guys. Don't just study the light because you need to know. You need to know all about your craft, especially when you are explaining this to friends and family members who you're introducing your craft to after long periods of time, and you want to be honest with them. It's, to me, very important to know, because they're going to have a picture of Hollywood in their head, right? So it's important for you to know both sides, so you can say, here's what I do, and I don't sacrifice babies. You know what I'm saying? But that's just a silly comparison, but, to say it's good to know both sides so I resonate with this. Study both sides. It's important. I completely agree with that. And I've lost my place. He encouraged me to seek out and study the dark side of magic as a natural companion to the light side. In Hermetism, this is called the law of polarity, meaning that everything has an equivalent opposite, and by studying one end of the pole, you can better understand the other end. That's a really good way to say it. I like that. Without an up, how can there be a down? How can you appreciate health if you haven't experienced sickness? How could good exist without labeling something else as bad? How is it possible to truly understand the light if you cannot truly understand the darkness? Thus, if I wanted to understand the mystery of life, I had to first understand the mystery of death. Truth be told, when I first began exploring the ways of modern death worshippers, I was expecting to see a bunch of somber goths who wore all black, read Edgar Allan Poe, and obsessively watched Tim Burton movies. That's a good one. I think a lot of people picture that. I was laughably naive about the cult, and like most people, I had an incorrect assumption about the modern devotees of La Santa Muerte. Yes, we do evoke the spirit of death and cast spells, but we look just like anyone else, and in truth, we are just like anyone else, except that we have a different philosophic outlook on life. Oh boy. Essentially, we believe that the world is good, and we believe that divine energy, God, the universe, the Tao, etc., is perfect. And since that divine energy is in everything, everything is perfect. Everything is also perfectly connected and depends on everything else in a symbolic relationship for harmony and survival. I can't stop smiling. All I can picture is that goth that they just painted in my mind. The problems of life result from a disassociation with everything else. The belief that you are separate from all other things. This sense of separation leads to constant judgments. Absolutely. Absolutely. Hey, sweetie, how are you? You nearly pissed yourself laughing. Wait. Wait. Midnight Muse said, hello, love. I nearly pissed myself laughing when somebody asked me if I sacrificed babies when they found out I was into woo-woo of complete fools. That's exactly what I'm saying. Everyone has this Hollywood picture painted in their head, which is hilarious because all of the big people in Hollywood are practicing witchcraft, but it's not the kind that we practice. So, very, very weird turn of events in that scene that they're putting out there for everyone, but I think there's a reason for it. You can't even kill a spider, right? We go and collect spiders that have died naturally. Yeah, I know, right? When somebody they're like ready to get a spider, I'm like, no! Just let it live! Like, it was coming for me, don't worry. Did you know that spiders naturally draw themselves to witches? And when I started putting my stones and my stuff in my window, like, literally a mass of spiders started living in my window. It's so wild. So wild. I think in some of my earlier videos, I caught spider fights in my window and stuff. So cool. I mean, it's just nature, right? I'm not like, cool, spiders are fighting, one of them's gonna die. No, I just want to see nature at its finest, and it perched itself in my window. Like, I love it. Okay. So... And after I do this video, I will read everybody's comments. I will go through and read everybody's comments, so don't you guys worry. I gotta find out where I was. Everything is also so perfectly connected to and depends on everything else in a symbolic relationship for harmony and survival. The problems of life result from a self-dissociation with everything else. The belief that you are separate from all beings. This sense of separation leads us to constant judgment and comparisons as being either better or worse than all other things. If you believe that you are better than something, it often leads to the self-justification of harmful deeds. Totally. If you feel you're better than something, it often leads to the self-justification of harmful deeds. Wow. That's a pretty powerful statement there, and I feel it's kind of true when I'm reflecting upon it, personally. This can be exemplified by some people's belief that they, mankind/males, are more important than all other forms of life. Yeah, because they make the babies. I mean, honestly, I couldn't make a baby without a sperm, but I'm just saying, like, how would one gender be all-powerful to the survival of the race? That does not make any sense. You need both genders, right? Or you at least need both aspects, sperm and egg. So that doesn't make any sense to me, that people would say that. Are more important than all other forms of life. So they treat animals, the environment, and females as objects only to be utilized for their own enjoyment. Conversely, if you believe that you are worse than something, it also often leads to the self-justification of harmful deeds. This can be exemplified by some people's belief that having less money than other people makes them less important or worthy than those other people, and so they do anything to obtain more money and thus become better via robbing, cheating, or killing. By believing that we are all equally connected in this web of life, harming others becomes much less appealing since the destruction of a single strand ultimately affected the whole and threatens the stability of the entire web. There's that spider metaphor. There's that spider metaphor we were looking for. There's that spider metaphor we were looking for. Hey. I'm going to start painting hilarious things on the bottom of my cups because they did that in the show IT Crowd. Do you remember? Do you remember that? So it would say something like, hello, on the bottom of my cup, or like, what's up, witches? So on the bottom of this cup, I'm just going to paint what's up, witches, and then spray it with Mod Podge that is dishwasher safe. That's what I'm going to do! I'm going to make what's up, witches cups. Ready? What's up, witches? No, it could say whatever. But I will make some of those cups, because I think that they're quite good. Alright, let's get back to it. I gotta get this through this chapter, and then we can chit-chat. Mankind, male, self-justification. Oh yeah, money. That's where we left off. By believing that we are all equally connected... Oh, spider metaphor, right? A more philosophical concept is the belief... of this belief is popular... It's Mercury retrograde, you guys. I can't speak, but I'm still going to try. A more philosophical concept of this belief is popularly known in dramatic religions as karma. That was just a hard sentence, I'm not going to lie. Oh, do we have a troll? Oh, piss off trolls would be a good one. I was like, oh shit, do we have a troll? That would be hilarious if I just got really close and was like... But the funny thing is, I would have to keep my cup half full, or just drink it, like... I'll make a couple cups. One will say piss off trolls, and one will just say, like, what's up, witches? Okay. But you know what? I'll send some to my friends that have YouTube channels that say piss off trolls. That would be a really good one. I lost my place. I totally lost my place. Okay, I'm back. I found it. Everything you do will eventually come back to you, because we're talking about karma and dharmatic religions. If you do good deeds, then good things will happen to you. If you do harmful deeds, then harm will happen to you. Thus, a devotee of La Santa Muerte and a practitioner of her magic would, at the very least, on a selfish level, not want to cause harm to another, because it would result in harm ultimately coming upon themselves. Although not all devotees explicitly call it karma, this ethic of cosmic reciprocity is a main tenet of working with La Santa Muerte and understanding how to utilize her magic. This overreaching idea of treating others as equals might seem like a utopian ideal of a young New Age religion, but in truth, it is a guiding ethic in all religions, most commonly known as the Golden Rule. Some examples are, that's so funny because this morning I couldn't stop singing and putting on repeat David Bowie's Golden Years. I had no idea why. And I'm not saying that it was like Golden Rule, but it does kind of sound similar. Golden Rule. Woo. I love David Bowie. Yes, I agree. Wait. That was you. Hey, Lady Blue, how are ya? We're reading La Santa Muerte. We're in chapter 1. It's quite good so far. You were listening to that all day yesterday? Are you serious? You had Golden Years on all day yesterday? I couldn't get it out of my head. I was just like, woo. So like to me, the only way to get a song out of my head is to play it so many times until like just it's out. But that doesn't work with every song. Hey Jay, what's up, man? So it is a guiding ethic in all religions, most commonly known as the Golden Rule. Some examples are Buddhism. And in Buddhism, they say, treat not others in ways that you wouldn't find harmful. So these are like parallel sayings between religions. In Christianity, the phrase is, and these are all in quotes after I say the name of the religion, so whatever you wish that men would do to you, so do to them. And that's Matthew 7:12. And then in Confucianism, which is like Confucius say, I'm guessing, it says, try your best to treat others as you would wish to be treated yourself, and you will find that this is the shortest way to benevolence. Cool. And that's, I don't know how to pronounce that. In Hinduism, they say in quote, this is the sum of duty, do not do to others what would cause pain if done to you. And I can't pronounce that one either. In Islam, they say, none of you truly believes until you wish for others what you wish for yourself. None of you truly believes. And that's Hadith 13. I do know how to pronounce that. Oh yeah, Claire's here, man. She wanted to be here. You good? She's in a bit of a mood. I'm sorry I didn't say anything earlier. How long? She's like, 30 minutes. We've been here for 30 minutes and you didn't introduce me. Got it. First, like, sit on my lap then, you know? Like, sit on my lap if you want to remind me. Or kick me or something. Okay, in Jainism, the quote is, one should treat all creatures in the world as one would like to be treated. It's pretty straightforward. In Judaism, it's, what is hateful to you, do not do to your neighbor. This is the whole of the Torah. All the rest is commentary. Wow. If that's the whole of the Torah, then it's basically like a pretty good message, right? I've not read the whole of the Torah, so I couldn't say. Taoism. Regard your neighbor's gain as your own gain, and regard your neighbor's loss as your own loss. Now, I've got to say that Peggy totally goes by that philosophy. Maybe she's a Taoist because she cares so much about her literal neighbors that it's insane. And, you know, as a gardener and stuff, like, she's always done her own thing, and then, like, I'm sorry, I can't concentrate. Just give me 2 seconds. So they grow their own vegetables, they grow their own corn, they do all that stuff, and then they're so proud and so happy to share it with all their neighbors. Tell me that there's no magical part to that. Because when she's growing those things, she's thinking of them, and she's thinking of nurturing them and helping them and making them happy and them smiling and eating the food, and like, that is magical to me. So anyway, this Taoism quote, regard your neighbor's gain as your own gain and regard your neighbor's loss as your own loss. It really made me think of my mother. In Wicca, it says, and it harm none, do what you will. Okay, that's from the Wiccan Read, and it's number 10. Yoruba African traditional religions say, one going to take a pointed stick to pinch a baby bird should first try it on himself to see how it hurts. And that's a Yoruba proverb, number 11. I like that. Because when you say it like that, a child can understand it, right? and it's probably going to be a child who does this action, right? Like, who would poke a bird with a stick unless it was a child or a sociopath, right? I know a couple dentists who would. And I'm being freaking serious on that. No offense, but every dentist I've met, and I'm sure there's some good dentists out there, but every personal friend I've met that I later find out's a dentist turns out to be the wickedest person I've ever met in my life. Hey Buzz, how are you? But you know, if one of you are dentists, you just never told me that you are, and maybe that's a good thing. Don't tell me. So the last one, and they seem to be in alphabetical order. They were. The last one in the alphabetical order is a religion I've not heard of, and it's called Zoroastrianism. Zoroastrianism? Okay, so Zoroast. So it's Zoroastrianism, because there's like 3 words in there. And then the quote from their text says, "Do not do unto others whatever is injurious to yourself." And that's pretty straightforward too. That comes from Shayasna Shayast, 1329:12. Okay, so the next section of this book is called Oh, thank you, Buzz. Zoroartanism. Oh, okay, thank you. Yeah, that's what I was looking at there. Thank you, Buzz. I really appreciate that. And he says it's a Persian. Is that say Persian or Persian? Persian religion? Persian religion? Okay, an attractive death is the next section. This, let me have a little smoke before I start. Because we've got 3 more pages left, and then we'll be done with chapter 1. We'll have a little chit chat, and then we'll come back on live later on. But we've still probably got like 45 minutes of being here. All right. An attractive death. With this underlying similarity among all spiritual philosophies, why would one specifically choose the veneration and magic of La Santa Muerte? Everyone's devotees' specific reasoning is unique, but in general, there are 2 main overreaching reasons why people are attracted to the devotion of La Santa Muerte. The first is the fact that La Santa Muerte is a non-judgmental deity in every sense of the word. Most other deities, whether a form of I really feel like I have a stutter. Monotheistic or polytheistic pantheon. This is a huge self-love to read in front of people. Like, I'm really trying to improve myself, but I do okay. Are in some ways judgmental in the sense that they reward those who have their favor and punish those who fall out of their favor. The god of monotheistic religions is known for rewarding the righteous with eternal paradise and punishing the wicked with eternal torment. Heaven and hell is what I think we're talking about there. Yeah, Thomas, when you look more into that religion, let me know, because I think that we're all learning some new religions out of that little section there. It was interesting. But if you find a good video on it, Thomas, send it over to me on Skype. I'd really appreciate that. Because I want to learn more about it too. I'd never even heard of it. And I want to know about all of them. La Santa Muerte gives no such preferential treatment to anyone. In a sense, she can be most linked to the Tao, since she is never good nor bad, and yet both. She interacts with humanity without a set agenda or expectation of behavior in mind. Whether you are a devoted follower or her mystery school, or an opponent who crusades against her and her evil cult. A lot of people do think this is an evil cult, by the way. I don't think that. But I'm not. I mean, I'm about to read a bunch on it, so perhaps by the end I will. I don't think so, but I'm just telling you that there are a lot of people that think that this is a cult. She will treat both of you equally without favor or disdain. The basis of for this supreme neutrality of La Santa Muerte can be found in the fact that death treats everyone equally. It doesn't matter if you are rich or poor, man or woman, young or old, good or bad, death comes to all, and she will take the life of a king just as readily as she will take the life of a peasant. This is why so many people find refuge in their devotion to La Santa Muerte, despite not receiving her preferential favor for doing so. She doesn't judge you in any way whatsoever. In particular, this is why an overwhelming number of her devotees are people who are not accepted by the mainstream society. Most frequently, these outcast devotees are gay people, self-empowered women, and people with criminal records. Gay people often come to her as a result of continuously being judged as immoral by society and many organized religions. To finally find a belief system, though not only the belief system, where your patron deity will never judge you for your sexual orientation or identity is comforting. Self-empowered women are similarly judged as in a negative way by a patriarchal society and numerous gender-based organized religions for not being passive and submissive. To finally find a feminine deity who does not see gender. I like that. A feminine deity who does not see gender. It's not even the feminine deity, it's just a deity who does not see gender that I like in that. Because remember, we're all a balance of feminine and masculine. And if you're not a balance of feminine and masculine, we need to work on the balance of it. But just because I come in this shell that has breasts and bits doesn't mean that I don't have male personality living in me as well as the female personality, right? That's how I feel about it. Okay. So, people with we talked about self-empowered women. People with criminal records are also constantly judged and labeled as evil in a society that allows no room for mistakes and where one mishap with the law will follow you forever, preventing future employment. Not in Austria. Look at Fritzl. Promotions and success in life, thus criminals come to La Santa Muerte. Fritzl's cellar, that's what I was talking about. Come to La Santa Muerte knowing that she does not judge them by their past sins, nor will she judge them if they fall off the wagon and sin again. That's a biggie for a lot of people. But this welcoming and comforting attitude is not excessive to La Santa Muerte. Her devotees are also dedicatedly just as non-judgmental. Granted, we are all human and sometimes fall short of our patron deity's perfect level of neutrality. But to attain a state of never judging others and treating everyone equally, just like death, is our ideal for which we strive. So not only are gays, self-empowered women, and people with criminal records welcomed and seen as equals in the eyes of La Santa Muerte, but they are also welcomed and seen as equals in the eyes of her devotees. Deep down, we all know that none of us are perfect, and so we live by the credo, do not judge somebody just because they sin differently than you. Everybody sins differently. The other main overreaching reason people are drawn to the mystery school of La Santa Muerte and remain devoted to her for the rest of their lives is the fact that she is the de facto saint of desperation. Commonly, you will hear testimonies from people actively engaged in her mystery school that say they were very hesitant and unwilling to turn to La Santa Muerte for help, fearing her cult as something evil. They prayed to other gods and saints for divine intercession, only to have their prayers unanswered or unfulfilled. Similarly, those who engage in spell work experience a similar non-manifestation of their spells when working with their particular deities, even though they perform the spell correctly and in perfect love and in perfect trust. Feeling rebuffed by their tradition, god, or pantheon of deities, they experiment with the prayers. They experiment with the prayers too and magic of La Santa Muerte, and universally their prayers are answered and their spells are manifested. In fact, her devotional prayers and spells are so effective that Catholic devotees of La Santa Muerte in need of a miracle have overwhelmingly begun to seek her divine intercession over that of Saint Jude, the Vatican-approved patron saint of lost causes and desperate situations. So that's Saint Jude, is the Vatican-approved patron saint of lost causes and desperate situations. The basis of La Santa Muerte, supreme efficiency, is answering prayers and manifesting spells, goes back to her neutrality. Oftentimes, especially in desperate situations, we want something so badly that we cannot see how not having it is beneficial or is benefiting us. As humans, we can't see into the future or predict all of the long-term effects of certain events, but the divine God of the universe and Tao can. Sometimes what we so desperately want is not for greater good, and so an unanswered prayer or a spell that doesn't manifest is quite often a blessing in disguise. That's a really interesting way of looking at it, you guys. That's a really interesting way of looking at something like, why won't this spell work? I've tried it so many different ways. I've tried, so much intention, so much focus. It's not working. Well, maybe. Sometimes what we so desperately want is not for our greater good, and so an unanswered prayer or a spell that does not manifest is quite often a blessing in disguise. Examples of this are endless. Imagine praying to be hired for a job for which you have just been interviewed, only not to be selected, but by being forced to continue searching for a new job, you are hired elsewhere with a higher salary and more job satisfaction. Or maybe you meet the love of your life through this different job. None of that would have happened if your prayer had originally been answered. Likewise, you may have also dodged an unseen bullet by not being hired, such as severely hostile and crippling work environment or a fatal car accident on your way to the first day of the job. The divine, regardless of what you call it or how you conceptualize it, is always looking after your greater good. With La Santa Muerte, however, this is not the case. Because of her supreme neutrality, she will answer your prayers and manifest your spells regardless of whether it will ultimately cause you harm or whether something better would have happened to you in petition and remained unanswered. That's interesting. In a sense, one can argue that La Santa Muerte is no more efficacious in her miracles than any other saint or deity, but because working with her lacks the safety guard of only materializing things that would be for your greater good, the number of testimonials to her indiscriminate miracle working is tremendously high, especially since the people don't recognize the material of unanswered prayers. This also explains why La Santa Muerte is often associated and seen with the most dangerous and ill-meaning people in society. Her neutrality dictates that prayers and spells done in the intention of knowingly and purposely harming others will be answered just as readily as those done in for benevolent intentions. It is not uncommon for assassins to pray to La Santa Muerte to guide their bullet into the heart of the victim, nor is it uncommon for shrines to be built in her honor on the U.S.-Mexican border by drug traffickers to ensure their safe delivery of their cargo and protection from the law. While most cases are extreme, it is more likely that morally ambiguous devotees will call upon La Santa Muerte to facilitate a crime or of a necessity. Prostitutes and thieves are among the most devout to her sense, although they would prefer not to break the law. their socio-economic circumstances provide them with no other way to survive. Prostitution is the oldest profession known to history, and I just want to say that. It's just a little tidbit of information. It's the oldest profession. And was widely accepted throughout the ages, but isn't now. And I don't know, there's places in Scotland where prostitution is legal, like a little city. There's places, all over the world where it's legal, or looked the other way at. And I'm not saying it's good or bad. I think it's, I mean, I don't know. I don't really think about it a ton, but I'm just saying. They find solace in knowing that La Santa Muerte will not only not judge them for what they are about to do, but will also help ensure a profitable night and their safe protection. I don't know, that feels really, patron saint of sinners, right? I guess. The supreme neutrality of La Santa Muerte, whether she is answering prayers that are not for the greater good, or for manifesting the spells of those who intentionally seek to harm others or commit a crime of necessity, is a big reason why she... I don't work with her in those ways, just so you guys know that. I want to say that, like, right away, right now. I don't use with her to I don't work with her. I don't use her at all, but I don't work with her to guide me down a dark path and keep me safe. But in my life, I've been down many dark paths and could have really used her guidance to be with me, and now that I'm on this amazing path, I see her as something completely different than what we're talking about right here. So I just want to say that I'm not like promoting prostitution or promoting drug trafficking. This book is just talking about it, okay? Hi Jamaica, I'm reading your quote right now. Getting released Monday? Oh my goodness. Well, I'm glad that your dad is coming home. And I'm sorry about that, what happened. I'm really glad that you shared that though. Because that's exactly on topic and what we're talking about. The supreme neutrality of La Santa Muerte, whether she's answering prayers that are not for the greater good or manifesting spells of those who intentionally seek to harm others or commit a crime of necessity, is a big reason why she has such a bad rap with those not familiar with her mystery school. But it just comes with the territory. Just like witchcraft generally has a bad rap, people just probably don't know enough about La Santa Muerte to speak correctly about it, probably. A defied personification of death who looks like the Grim Reaper, welcomes gay people, strong-willed women, and criminals, and grants miracles that could harm you or someone you know, is undoubtedly going to be a lightning rod for controversy. Her devotion and mystery school have been condemned by the Vatican and several Protestant branches of Christianity. Well, if it's condemned by the Vatican, then I'm all for it, to be quite honest. Seriously. I'm not joking. That Vatican library, if I had 10 wishes, seeing the Vatican library would be one of them. Definitely. And the whole of the Egyptian pyramids, like the whole of them. I want to see the whole of them as a little like shape-shifting fly on the wall. So no one would know I was there. And no curses would be put upon thy if I were to be a fly on the wall. Those are 2 out of 10 for sure. Vatican Library and the whole of the pyramids. Because I think in the Vatican Library, there's all those old Catholic pictures of the UFOs in the sky behind the saints. And we know that they exist because of word of mouth word of mouth history, folklore, whatever you want to call it. That Vatican Library, man. Come on! Oh, we just have to tap into the Akashic records, right? Her devotion Her devotion and mystery school have been condemned by the Vatican and several Protestant branches of Christianity. And it also doesn't help her public image that the news media is obsessed with presenting her in a light that is negative and frightening. In accordance with the old sage, if it bleeds, it leads. But does La Santa Muerte care? Not at all. Throughout time, death has been praised and maligned by human societies all over the world, and yet she has remained an ever-constant presence with us, continuing the same work no matter our opinion of her. She holds no grudges and no opinion of you, and those who are willing to learn the secrets of her mystery school will be a powerful ally for the rest of your life and whatever awaits you after that. So I invite you to bury your preconceived notions, beliefs, and assumptions about who or what La Santa Muerte is. Read this book, and the magic contained within it will be with a non-judgmental and mind and open heart. If what you read does not resonate with you, take the information as nothing more than an academic study into a unique and growing spiritual philosophy. But if on some level within your soul, the information in this book speaks to you, which that happened to me, but I have not read this book, intrigues you or calls to you, let this book be your initiatory experience into the community and mystery school of La Santa Muerte, wherein you will learn the magic of life through the exploration and understanding of death herself. And then that is at the end of chapter 1, and the next chapter is going to be called Let's Talk About Death. So, what did y'all think of chapter 1? And let me try and get to some recent comments so I can kind of reply to those. Hi, Pop Giveaway, how are you? The power of the mind, the power of positive thinking. Nice. So, yeah, Buzz said, yes, I had guessed that. I've read about people who consider the travel animals. Yeah, so I'm going to go back and read all of these comments later on when I reread this back. One reason why I like to read these books in chapters on my channel is so that perhaps those of you who can't afford to get the books, not that I'm like any good at doing audiobooks, I don't think that at all, but it does improve on my reading skills in this digital age when we're not sitting down in front of books as much as we need to. So it helps me improve upon that, and also, everyone say hello to Claire, please. Isn't she pretty? A lot of people say she looks like a mini-me, like if I put braids in. And I take that as a completely high compliment. Hey, Dangerous Eyes! How were your readings earlier? Thanks, Buzz. Buzz said hey. She's my little mini-me. But really, I have to get back to my serious mini-me in the other room because she woke up a little bit ago. Good books on twin flames. I haven't found any, man. But I hear this is the year of like Aquarius or something, and Stargirl, the Practical Witch, says that it's the year where so many twin flames are going to be reuniting. So, I've done 2 twin flame workings this year. I did one for Joanna, and I did one for Jackie. We did a window charm to call that in, and then for Jackie we did a red hoodoo oil lamp for setting the lights. So really cool stuff. Jezebel! Hi! Jezebel said hi. Now she's happy. She's like, Jezebel's here. I wish you guys could feel it. I wish there was something that like I could just attach from the phone to me to her so we could just get the... Yeah. Alright, you guys, I gotta get back to my mini-me. Did you guys enjoy this? Should I read more of this on the channel, or should we just, is it just too much? Like, you know, the reason I've been avoiding this topic is because I thought it was too much. But, like, what did you guys think of it? Sure? I mean, is it boring? Is it anything anybody's interested in? Jezebel, you like it? Okay. Well, as long as some of my close friends like it, then that's all that matters to me. I love you too, Midnight Muse. Let's have some cuppa. Okay, Buzz, cool. And when I came across a word that I didn't understand, was that annoying? Okay, awesome. I'm glad that you are into it too, Jamakai. I still want to know how to pronounce your name right. I gotta figure out how to pronounce your name right, because I... 1982 is the dog in the Chinese horoscope. That's all I know, because that's my birth year. And whenever we go to sit down at Chinese food, it says, like, on the paper placemat. I can't keep reading. I gotta get back to my family. But I read chapter 1, and eventually we'll read chapter 2, and... Buzz, no, I was rooting for you to get the words. It is good to push your limits. And especially when you're doing it live in front of people where you're not editing. I mean, it really does push your limits. I agree, Pop Giveaway. Reading is powerful. You're a monkey, Dangerous Eyes? Cool. Yeah, I think 1982 is the year of the dog, because I remember always feeling like that was a disappointment, because if girls were called dogs, it wasn't a nice thing. But F it, you know, like what? What? I don't like dogs, though. I like cats, so that's always another thing, too. Like, when I found out I was Year of the Dog, I'm like, couldn't I be Year of the Cat? I don't even think there's a Year of the Cat, but... In the beginning was the Word. 1982 is you. Cool. Alright. See you guys soon. I'm going to get to my other family, because they need me. I got to make them some breakfast and whatnots. So, if you guys want to reach out to me on... Yep, You're the Dog, 1982. Thank you. Appreciate it. Okay, see y'all soon. Loves and kisses, and we will be reading more of this, at least for Thomas, Jez, and everybody else that said that it would be fun to hear. Who else said that? Thomas, Jez, and Buzz. From now on, these will be dedicated to Thomas, Jez, and Buzz.